Hey, in this video, I will take you through the basics of creating a master sketch to set up the design of your product. This video is aimed at novice designers and SolidWorks beginners, and will show you how to use a sketch picture, create sketch geometry referencing the origin, and create offset planes. Let's go. So here you can see my starting point. It is a bunch of concept images. Now, here I can see actually all the concept work, well, everything that's been shared with me. And so I can kind of see the process of what my client and the artist have gone through to come up with the final form. Now there's two projects in this one, but I'm focusing on the bear on the left. And what I can see here is my starting point. So I've got a side view and a front view, and I'm going to use those to create my reference geometry. I'm going to use them as sketch pictures inside SolidWorks and then create the shapes on top of them. So I'll take you through that process and then create the models. The other thing that I'm going to do with these, I'm going to create it as a master file, which means I'll have one SolidWorks part file. That part file will have all the bodies that you can see on screen here. And then from that, I will split those bodies out into separate part files to create an assembly. Let's get into it. So first step, we're going to create a new part, and I'm going to first insert or first work out roughly the size of this animal. Now, one thing that I do have, this product is actually a revision of an existing product. So I do have some reference documentation. I'm going to show that to you now. You can see what I mean as far as factory drawings. Now, I can't see any dates here again, 2015. So they're a little bit old, these ones. And that's part of the reason for the refresh. This is the head at the top. The bottom is the foot. And in the middle here is the body. Now, these are listed as brown bear small. I'm not sure if they're of the larger size, but it does give me a reference as far as height goes. You can see this body is 25 millimeters. The diameter about 25, 26 millimeters. The head about 20 and about 21 high. So I'm going to kind of use that scale as I bring it into SolidWorks and set up some construction geometry to guide it. So let's do that. I'm going to start on the right plane. Very first thing I'm going to do is a sketch. I'm going to sketch a rectangle just to give it a height. Now, I've done a few of these products before, so I know the rough scale that they're at, but I do expect we'll tweak this later. So I'm just going to put in, let's say 60 by 120. I'm just going to leave that sketch there, those sketch lines. I might just make them for construction. And now I'm going to click on the right plane. I'm going to click Tools, Sketch Tools, Sketch Picture. And now it's going to ask me to browse to find that picture. Now what I'm going to do is go across to here. I'm going to take a screenshot of this because I don't want all the black on the outside. I actually just want, a much smaller shape. It's a bit easier to handle. Now, whenever I take a snip like this, it automatically saves to my screenshots folder. So I go back into SolidWorks and I can see that is here. I'm going to drop that in. So with the sketch picture tool, first thing I always do is go to transparency and set it to half transparent, so 0.5. And then I can drag and I can resize. Now, the scale that you can see here in the tree is the size of the picture. So I could just bring this down to 60 millimeters. Okay, and that moves the whole picture down. Sorry, that was the width. If I change the height, there you go, that's 60. However, we didn't crop from the very bottom edge, so I'm just going to bring that down and just manually drag up. Okay, now I'm going to set, I'm on my right plane. Let's just press the tick here. You can always come back and edit it. So I'm going to hit the tick on that sketch. Just want to go to isometric view because what I suspected here, it's facing backwards. So I kind of need to flip it, right? Because I want the front to be facing, to the left here. So I'm going to go and edit that sketch, go to my right plane, double click on the image, and here I can flip horizontally. There we go. So now, again, I've got my height. Let's just drag it down so it's fitting in the 60 millimeters. And I'm going to move the nose to the front and the legs to the side, press OK on the sketch picture, and now I can change the dimension. So just bring that into 60 by 90. 60 by 96. Okay, that just gives us a bounding box. And if we design parametrically, with dimensions, we'll be able to scale and change things later pretty quickly and easily. So I'm going to press OK. And one thing that does happen with sketch pictures when you bring them in like this, whenever you hit fit to page, like I hit the F key, unfortunately, it doesn't zoom right into the sketch. If I hit the sketch, well, there's nothing else in there yet. But later on, you'll see there's a way we can get around that. I want to save it now, just so I don't lose anything else. This is going to be my master file, brown bear, save. Okay. Now, that was the side view. Let's do the front view. And for the front, we're going to do the same thing. Now, we've already got that sketch line, so we don't need to do another box. I did have to start a sketch, and I do need to go back into here and get this front view. Now, what I can do this time is actually trim right to the corner and right to the top. Okay, so that's the image that I've created. And once I come back in here, I'm going to go Tools, Sketch Picture, find that screenshot, open, change the height to 60, change the transparency to half. It's looking good. Now, the other thing it's done, by default, when these images come in, they set the bottom left corner to the origin. So you can see where it's sitting right now. All right, that's not bad, but I want to put it in the middle so I can actually reference it properly. So we can see the width of this is 50.8. So if I change my X dimension to 50.8 divided by 2 and make it minus, it's going to put it pretty much in the middle. It's not exactly in the middle. Maybe I can just tweak that a little bit more. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Press the tick and press the tick, and there we go. I've got a front view and a side view in there. I'm just going to rename those just for reference later. You don't have to do this, but it might make things easier once I start hiding and using some of those sketches. So, first step done. Let's move on. I'd like to, with these products, create a master sketch to drive all the other geometry, all the main geometry. And from that, I mean, if we're looking at this side view, I'm not concerned, I should outline now, I'm not concerned with like that fabric part for the neck or necessarily the ears. This pretty simple product. It's really got a head, a body, and some feet. In this case, it's got a little tail stump as well. And then the rope for the legs, we'll do that pretty quickly with a sweep a bit later. There's also a rope that goes in between the head and the body. We'll put that into. So we're going to, on the right plane here, we're just going to focus on creating these shapes. And what you might be able to tell already as well is that the geometry is not particularly complicated. So first one, let's start with the feet. Now, I think they look like an ellipse. So I'm just going to try and draw and see if I can get that shape right. Looks like I can. I'm making this ellipse. I'm putting that point vertical. I'm going to hit the center point off my guidelines. I'm going to dimension as much of it as I can, and where possible, I'm going to round up or down to get nice numbers for the technical drawings later and for the factory to work from. So for instance, here there's a 51.08. I'll just round that to 51. Doesn't matter if I'm not perfectly in the lines. It's kind of my job. I'm going to be creating the geometry later. Now I'm not going to worry about trimming away the rest. I'll just keep the whole thing there. There is a second one of those across to the right. We can do that with a pattern. So I've done a linear sketch pattern. I'm going to just bump that all the way across. 36 millimeters looks good. All right, there's our two legs partially defined. I will trim that one. Actually, trimming both works. So let's keep it like that. Sometimes you don't want to trim components like an ellipse like that if it's going to lose some of its definitions, but in this case, that was okay. Let's do the body. So we can kind of imagine that there's a straight sort of face here. And where I see these shapes, I'm going to try and ignore any small fillets, small radiuses, but I will put in the larger ones. The other thing I'm going to try and do as well is see if I can simplify anything so that it is straight. And for that, like, we can reference back to these images. And in one of them, there is an animation. I can slow it down. And this gives me an idea from the animator, the artist, the kind of form that I need to recreate. Now, if you are curious, this animator works, or the artist works with Blender. We are working on a process of sharing files. At the moment, the mesh files that export from Blender, OBJ files, they don't import that nicely in a SolidWorks, so I am just recreating from scratch. So I can see it's sort of round, like it looks like a revolve, kind of looks like a revolve, but not quite. I don't think it's symmetrical. Like if I drew a construction line here, I don't think I can say that either side is exactly the same, but maybe it is. We can play with that. So let's see if we get a nice radius there. We can, but I need to have this center point on this central line, and this one also needs to be tangent, so I'm not sure if this is going to work. I'm going to have that and that tangent as well. This point here, going to dimension from the origin. I'm not going to dimension from the line that's closest to it. That's not my intent. I want to try and reference back to the origin as much as I can. All right. So that radius looks okay, so I'm just going to dimension that. Yeah, I'm going to try and drag this line up. And remember, I don't have to perfectly match the sketch. So even though it's a little bit above, a little bit below here, it's going to turn out pretty well. So let's dimension that line with an angle. Okay, an angle of 12. Let's dimension this face from the front, 41, 42. Yep, let's dimension the height, 53. So you can see again, I'm just rounding up those numbers. Now that's giving me an error. Why is that giving me an error? Didn't like it. Okay, interesting. Let's try again. Yeah, doesn't like that dimension. I think I'm going to delete one of these, this tangency here, to refine that. Should be fine now. This straight one comes all the way down here. Now for that's just going to have a dimension. And last thing we've got is that radius. Now, let's see if there's a way that we can actually revolve this shape. Now to do that, I'm going to do a mirror about this line here. I'm going to make this line for construction. I'm going to see if there's a way I can manipulate the shape so that line's already fixed, but this line can be at the bottom and the arc will kind of match the shape. I don't think I can because of this shape here. It looks like it's got kind of 3 arcs to it, not just 2. And so I expect as I bring that out, it's not going to work. If this one here is not a true like single radius, there's actually one in the middle. What I'm going to do is try again. I'm going to bring this one down. Actually, what I'm going to do is fix that one in that point by giving it a dimension. Okay. So what that lets me do now, I'm going to move that, delete that relation and just try and move this mirrored line. I think I am struggling to do that. Okay, as the radius was holding you back, so I just deleted that, make that for construction. Let's bring this up. Let's bring this line over here. All right, and it's kind of close, right? But that's a horizontal revolve. Yeah, it's not quite working at the bottom here. So I don't think that is the right way to go. And that's because this point here is mirrored, but if I delete that relation, this point can extend and change and tweak. It can actually just be these lines that are symmetrical rather than equal. Okay, so now it's symmetrical, but what you'll find is I can drag it over here and then I can drag this one independently. So this one's not long enough. 32. Still not long enough, but maybe I want to make the body a little bit more gap. So that's actually okay. Should that be horizontal? Yes. Let's give that a dimension, 20. All right, that's not looking too bad. And you can see this arc. Now that is driven by the tangency. If I take that back and then put another arc in between the two, yeah, we may be able to work out something there that works pretty well. All right, so I'm just thinking to see if I can create something that's a little bit closer. The trick here is I have to get this point to be tangent as well. So I've got 2 arcs. You see it doesn't like that. It's that one and that one. That one, that one. Right. Is a tricky shape. What I'm noticing is that this middle line, construction line through the middle, is nearly horizontal. It's 2 degrees off. So maybe it is a good idea to just make the whole thing a revolve, like a very simple one. What we have to remember with the concept is that there's a bit of like artistic license to it. Yeah. So our model doesn't have to follow it perfectly. If I let's start here and have that, make these tangent and do that. Need to bring that one right back, right down, make that point tangent now. Nope, still doesn't want to do it. Bring this edge up, bring this edge down. This one definitely needs the center point to be on the construction line through the middle. And I also want to dimension the length. We can do a 3rd radius, but these two might find a nice happy spot now. I can make them tangent And I'm just going to follow this around. I'm not going to make it necessarily exactly the same shape. You can see this has a radius of 26, while this area has a radius of 18. And then I'm going to close up the shape. And later, I'll be able to use that for my revolve. I can try it now just to show you. Select that contour, uncheck thin feature, select this, and that's the shape of my bare body. Now, in my opinion, it goes a little bit low, right? If I did that mirror of those 3 sections around this construction line, it's going a bit low, you can see. So I think we might want to bump that up. Increase this height ever so slightly, maybe reduce this, okay, then it will be a bit higher. Just going to mirror those two. There you go. It's looking all right. So body done. Let's put in where the leg's going to go. Straight up through the middle, 6 from the bottom. And we can say it's going to be about 30 high. And do the same on this one. Very easy, and make them equal. Okay, let's just accept the sketch, save it as to sketch, save the file, and then continue. Now the previous head was about 21 millimeters long. If I look at this one, from here to here, I get about 31 millimeters. It's quite a bit bigger. That's fine. Again, we're just putting our sketches and dimensions in, and we can play with the shape and size a bit later. Ideally, you get it right with your sketch, your guide, but it's not always possible. So just do our best. On this one, it's very clearly a revolve. So I'm going to start with a construction line, and I'm going to set the height for that. And then this one is going to be about drawing the shape. We might start with a straight section at the back. What was the old shape like? Yeah, straight at the back, and then it went down and around. So we'll make a length, and I'll give the straight section a height. All right, and then I'm going to use arcs to create these elements. That's going to have a foot straight to it, and then a radius up. Then that's going to have another arc that goes all the way here. Is that too much? Yes, too much to the top, like that. Let's just bring this one down, make it all smooth. From that one, what was the previous one like? Sort of around, over, down. We don't want to do exactly the same. Is it a straight section there? It is. So we'll put, I'm just going to measure bit by bit, put some dimensions in. Just round them ever so slightly. That center point needs to be on this line, so I've got a nice smooth front point. You don't want an angled, a sharp point there. You want it to be tangent, so it's smooth as it revolves. This one I'll have to put a fillet in. That's fine. I'm just working my way down, just taking my time, putting some of these dimensions in. Sometimes I will click and drag. Other times I'll add the dimensions. So now it looks like we're getting to a nicer shape, right? 17. What's this one looking for? It's looking for a point to here. 12. Or not quite. It makes a big difference, that little dimension. So 12.3. We're going to put that one to the top, and then we can draw a simple arc from there to there. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's got a bit of a sharp on the bottom. That is okay. Make this one not for construction, and that closes up my shape. Pretty good, yeah? And as for a neck, is it a mirror? Actually, let's just check that first. I'm not convinced that what the artist has drawn is a revolve. Yeah, it's kind of close. Close enough. Okay. The hole for the head to join to the body is in the middle. We can do that as well. Now, these here tell me the size of the rope that's used. 7.5. 7.5, yeah. Which means that the rope itself is probably 7 millimeters. We can use a similar rope. This one's going to go, I'm going to change that to for construction. I'm going to draw some rope from here to here. It's going to go through the middle of that. It sits a bit lower on the body. We'll see how that plays. 6. All right, last thing to do, we'll do the little tail. It's almost not worth it, but we'll just put it in. So it's going to be like a stump. It's got an angle to it. I already know how we'll model this, so just got to put in some dimensions so that its location is set. It needs a bit of length to it to go to the inside, but not that much. Then just going to go to that end point there. Right, that is our master sketch. And now, well, look, that's from one view. We do have the front view too, but this front view is going to be much more useful for doing things like the artwork for the face, the distance that the feet go apart when I do those. So yeah, we'll come back to that for you a bit later. We can now hide these side sketches. And now when we do a zoom to fit, It's actually just going to come down to the master sketch. So that's really good. Hey, thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. If you enjoyed it, please like and share. If you've got any suggestions for other content, leave it in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And there's some other videos here. Check out. Thanks.